Hello, my clever people! I hope you are doing great. Welcome back to the channel. Over here we could be doing better, at least regarding the weather. And I think Neofly lady would agree. So since she's muted now, let's replay her voice just to bring up our morale.
It looks like the weather is perfect for flying.
Oh, and she couldn't be more right. In the last video we ended up here in Graciosa, and today we have low clouds, intermittent showers and strong winds. The typical Azorean weather. In just a few moments we'll be departing to Horta to come back to our base. I took 2 cargo jobs to be delivered there, and I'll ask the editor to put the Neofly footage on top of this one so you can see. To get out of here from Graciosa we want to have some visibility, because there are no standard instrument departures published for this airport. What you have is a written paragraph saying to fly runway heading until you reach 1000 feet, then turn right and keep flying over the ocean with the coastline on your right side, and you have to be in visual conditions until you are cleared by the controller to do otherwise. So, since all the air traffic controllers in the region are still sleeping, I'll try to keep visual conditions until I reach a minimum safe altitude of 2600 if I take into account the grid sectors, but I think I can go as low as 2400 since it's published in the NDB approach chart, a minimum safe altitude taking into reference the radials from the NDB. Either way, I'll try to play it safe and gain as much altitude as I can before I come back to join the Hotel 151 airway. That goes from Graciosa NDB to Lajes. And I'm doing this because I cannot simply fly direct to Horta after takeoff, because there is a giant volcano in the middle of the way. That makes my minimum safe altitude 9700 feet. So I either have to be above that or I have to be on a published airway or procedure as I enter the sector where that mountain is. Today I'll try to climb to 10,000 feet so I can fly safely to Notma intersection. That will be the starting point for our arrival. And for those who paid attention in the last video, you might be asking, why don't you fly the same airway you did last time? Well, I could fly the same airway and that would be more direct. The thing is, at Horta I want to fly a NDB approach that can be started one of 2 ways. You can start it at Hotel Tango NDB, the actual NDB for the approach, or you can start it at Velas intersection. If I fly the direct airway, I can only choose the first option, and that makes my approach way more tedious and longer. So I rather fly the Notma arrival, in this case the Notma 5 Alpha, because it puts me directly into Velas and it's a more straightforward approach. At Horta we are expecting winds from 230 at 22 knots. That's kind of in the limit for our crosswind component, but let's see. At least the cloud cover is high enough so we can shoot our NDB approach. My first alternate will be Pico, but I think the wind conditions will be even worse there because of that said mountain. And for that reason I have enough fuel to go to Ponta Delgada if it's the case. Any questions? Great! So now take yourself out of the rain and come take a seat inside. You must be soaking wet. Let's go! I already took some time to tune the radios on all the frequencies that we need for departure. As you can see over there we have a clearing in the clouds. I hope it stays like that for our takeoff. Mixture full rich. Let's try to aim the throttle for 1000 RPM. Three pumps. Let's turn the key to both magnetos and start. And she roars. Let's release the parking brake, give it some throttle. And while we taxi, let me ask you a question. Would you like me to explain in more detail anything about the technical stuff, or do you think that would make the video too extensive? If you are curious about anything that I show on these videos, I can always make separate tutorials to teach you that. Please leave your thoughts in the comments, I would really appreciate it. We have winds from 230 at 19 knots. So we are taking off on runway 27. And I have to say, that's quite a breeze. We are at the start of runway 27, always check before you take off. After takeoff, keep runway heading and climb to 1000 feet. If the engine fails until 1000 feet, I will try to turn left. The island is quite flat on this side, so our odds of survival will be always greater if we try to land on a field instead of landing on the sea. And today, due to the winds, the sea is kinda rough as well, so I guess it checks out. Mixture full rich, everything looks alright. Full throttle, and we are rolling. Even before takeoff I already feel the wind pushing me. 55 knots, let's rotate slowly. Airborne. And yeah, we are getting pushed to the right. The procedure says runway heading, it doesn't say runway track. The difference here is heading is where your nose is pointing and track is your actual track through the air, I guess. So if the wind is pushing me to the right, I have to point my nose slightly to the left to compensate. That means my heading is straight ahead from my point of view and my track is slightly to the right. Since we are visual, it doesn't matter that much, so I'll try to keep a runway track instead of a runway heading. But as you can see, we have already been pushed way to the right of the runway. We have already passed 1000 feet, I can start our turn to the right. Remember that we must keep ourselves in visual conditions, at least for now, preferably with the island in sight on our right. Graciosa is one of the smaller islands, second only to Corvo, but it's not that sparsely populated. Population density wise, they are comparable with the most populated islands, excluding São Miguel. I think the population is somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 people. And we are crossing the minimum safe altitude just as we are getting into clouds, so that was perfectly timed. Let's put 8,000 feet in the autopilot so we continue climbing. I just changed the active frequency on our Nav1 radio. We are now tuned to the Horta VOR and we are in a high enough altitude that I can simply go direct to my first fix for arrival. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that I changed the selected altitude to 10,000 feet on the autopilot. I think we have enough performance to climb to that. And I think the flight will be long since we have strong winds coming directly from our direction of travel. So I think this way we can economize more fuel. We are just about to level at 10,000 feet, so let's reduce our throttle. And yours favorite, mixture leaning, for best performance. Now that we are less than 30 miles from the VOR and the NDB as well, I can start our descent to Horta. Notma, the first waypoint for the arrival, was at 32. So, as I told you, since now I am in a standard arrival procedure, I can fly lower than the minimum safe altitude for the sector, as long as I follow the flight path that I'm supposed to. From now until we reach Velas, I can be as low as 5,000 feet. And we are still flying the same radial from the VOR of 246. We are getting close to Velas, that is at 15 miles from the VOR. I must set the baro reference for the local pressure, because we want to cross Velas at or above 5,000 feet and not flight level 050. So we are about to cross Velas, the first waypoint on our approach. And I must confirm that I have the ADF and the gyro for the NDB needle all set up, because I won't cheat this time. I'll do things the proper way for a change. But now, seriously, who am I trying to fool? Of course I'm using the nav mode on the autopilot, just to follow the radial from the VOR. Have you actually tried to follow an NDB approach by hand? Who does that? But of course, just in case, I'm checking the ADF needle periodically, just to make sure it's pointing in the right direction. I guess that doesn't matter right now, because we are clearly visual with the island. And I'm getting the impression that we are getting low on our approach, and that's probably because we have strong headwinds. So our ground speed is way lower than I was expecting. Yeah, we are definitely too low. For our aircraft, we should be at 2,900 when we pass the 8 nautical miles mark, and we are almost there at 10 nautical miles, so yeah. As I said, we will be visual from now on, so I won't bother with correcting that. ADF needle is looking good, and the normal procedure is to pass the NDB at or above 1,200 feet. Of course, you don't want to cross too high above that because you want to land, and it's looking great for us. runway in sight, we can break out of the procedure now and proceed straight to the airport. First notch of flaps and confirmed. Autopilot can come off now. Let's end fly this beast. The winds are the same as we reported earlier. 230 at 22 knots. And we will be landing on runway 28. We must be careful for this one. I've said we are on the limit for our crosswind component, at least the one demonstrated by Cessna. That is 14 knots. We are actually slightly above that, I think. And you can calculate that knowing the wind speed and the angle between the wind direction and the runway heading. Do you remember trigonometry from maths class? Well, that's basically it. Second notch of flaps and confirmed. We are landing again with flaps on the second position because the winds are too strong for a full flaps landing. We will be more stable this way. You see the variation on wind speed and how I climbed there? The amount of throttle input that I have to make is ridiculous.
Leaving altitude.
Just by the profile on the puppies, if this was an A320, I had already gone for a go-around. The thing is that I don't feel like the wind is coming from 230. Maybe it has changed and it's more like 260 maybe. Oh, but I definitely feel the variations in the wind speed. Oh, let's try to cut the throttle slowly. Oh no! Ouch! Did you see what just happened? I was basically thrown at the ground. It was a sudden loss of wind speed, I guess. Well, it was not great, but it was survivable. Or as a Boeing pilot would say, it was positive. Definitely on the good side for Ryanair standards. I guess at this point I'm just trying to excuse myself. Oh, and my CPU just choked after seeing that. If I was on board, I would do the same. Oh, let's ignore that marshal over there. I know how to park. No, those squeaky brakes don't inspire any confidence. Parking brake on, throttle to idle, alternator off, key to shutdown. And there we go, another perfectly safe flight on our career. And another step taken on our way to buy a plane that doesn't sound like a chainsaw. I really hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos when they come out. Once again, I ask you to help to grow this community by leaving your opinions, questions, or simply suggestions on the comments so we can help each other and do things better. I wish you a great day and remember to fly clever!